Okay, then it's about time. Let's get started. So we say hello to customers, partners, pro users to today's expert update. My name is Tobias, and together with Damian, I'm going to walk you through some new features that we have developed at OpenSAP in the past few months. So as mentioned, you will see new features and improvements on our platform. And besides that, we encourage you to ask questions in the chat about the new features, and we're going to answer them during the webinar. So please come up if you have any questions or you don't understand something completely, ask us. And in the very end, you will also receive a slide with links to all demo apps. So you will see QR codes there that you can scan from your mobile phone and use to directly start the app to play with the new feature. And you also have the chance, if you open it in the browser, to copy the app into your account so that you can see the configuration and play with the feature also from the app creator side. So what topics do we have for today? So we have loads of new stuff, and we decided to pick 7 of them and present them a bit more detailed. And in the end, we will also have one slide where you will see some other features in a short version of what we developed during the last few months. Okay, I would say let's just get started with the first feature. So the first one is a feature that anyone can benefit from. So when we are working with OpenSAP, we have to work with data a lot, and we are editing data like text, numbers, and dates, and we are doing this a lot of times. And we thought, well, can we make that simpler or more straightforward? And turned out to be that we can make it simpler. And what we have now is editing inline. You already see it on the right-hand side here. When you click on an element, you directly get the keyboard now, and you are not forwarded to an extra page now where you have to edit the value. Also, a small benefit that comes with it that is that we now support copy and paste. So if you have large amounts of text that you need to copy between apps, that's also supported now with the new editors. What's great about this feature is also that it is now active by default. So you don't have to do anything pretty much. It will just work out of the box for all of your apps. But if you face any issues, we still provide a flag for a fallback, because of course, this is a big change. And let's say if you have any issues, we want you to have the fallback to the old way of editing values. And in that case, of course, also let us know and get in touch with us. So let's have a short look in Simulator here, how this actually works. So I prepared an app here. That's also one of the apps that you will receive later on the last slide. And after opening it up and clicking a value, you see that the keyboard immediately comes up, and you can just start typing values. As mentioned, you can also use copy-paste here. So I can take something from here, go over there, and just paste the value. So quick inline editing without extra screens. Of course, it also works for date. And you can just simply edit values here. I think it sounds like a small thing, but I think it makes a big difference in the daily work with OpenSAP, and we really hope that you will like it. Are there any questions yet?
No, but yeah, just cheers that it's great to have that feature, because basically we save the user one click at least each time.
Yeah, cool. So if you have any questions, you can still post them now, and we will come back to them later, maybe by the end then, after we went through all the other features. Okay, let's go to the next one, the image picker gallery. Again, I think this is something very simple, but quite important, because there is this one quote which says, "A picture is worth 1,000 words," and we totally agree with that. So far you could pick an image from a pre-selection that we had at OpenSAP, or you could upload your own one. But that was always, let's say, a 2-step process. So you had to Google something, find an image, upload it. And we said, let's make that simpler. Let's integrate that directly with OpenSAP, that people can create beautiful apps with beautiful images directly within our service. And these images work for the card image, for headers, and for image elements. And I'm going to show you now how that actually works. So let's switch over to the portal and create an application. For the sake of this example, we are just going to use pretty much any demo app that we have. And let's just rock through the wizard. Let's get here. Just going to go with the contact list. That's totally fine here. And now, once we pick the design, we can now edit all the image elements. So let's create or change the top area image here. So you scroll down here, and then you see what we had before. So you could drop your own one, and you had a pre-selection before. But now we can actually go here and search for anything that is suitable for our app. So let's say, I don't know, if it's an app about dogs, you can just select it, and that's how easy it is. So you can just change the image, click on save, and it's inside. The same works for image elements. So if we add a new element here, you will see pretty much the same editor down here. Again, with some suggestions already, and then you can also pick another image here. And again, inside, one click, very quickly, no more Googling for images, just integrated into our service directly. And then also, of course, very important for the card design that everybody sees when he opens your app, you can do the same thing and search for images here. So you can also load more. It's a big collection, a big API with a lot of images that you can use.
It feels like infinite possibilities. And there's actually a question regarding that feature. So it's about licensing. And yeah, so the images here are Creative Commons Creative Commons 0 license, which means that yeah, you're allowed to use the photos for free for personal and commercial purposes.
So no worries about the commercial stuff. That's all handled and ready for you. Okay, cool. Then I would jump back to the slides and go on with the next one if there's no more other questions. Nothing?
Everything's fine.
Okay, great. Then let's get to the next one. That's a feature that doesn't come, let's say, out of the box, but it's a very powerful feature and it works quite simply. I'm also gonna showcase that to you in a live demo. So in today's world, a lot of data that goes, let's say, through the internet is exchanged using REST interfaces. And since this is such a big amount of the data today that is transferred, we decided to integrate that with OpenSApp. So how does it work? Let's say you have a web service here on the right side, and that web service is a REST web service that exchanges data using JSON. What we can do now with OpenSApp is use this web service as a data source and create beautiful apps for your users in that format. So let's have a look at an example. We're gonna build this demo app in a minute together. But what it basically does is you have a URL that goes to a web service. So you can also click that and just have a look at it quickly. So you see it returns a list of countries in this case. So you have the name of the country, you have some information about the capital and so on. And that's a really, really long list with data about all the countries. And with a couple of clicks, we can pretty much transform this machine format, let's say, into apps that people can use. And I would now jump over into the portal and just show you an example of how this works. So let's go into Chrome and pretty much we're just gonna go back here to our landing page, create our first app. And as you know, if you don't want to use an Excel file or if you want to use other data sources, you just have to click here and you get a list of all the data sources that OpenSApp supports besides Excel files. In this case, we want to go for the REST web service, which is a new data source that we implemented. And after clicking it and saying connect, you pretty much just have to paste the URL of the web service that you want to use. In this case, we're going to use the countries API, and you click on login. After that, you have the little plus button here where it says click here to add data. So let's click there. Let's select the data table. And now you have all the fields that come back from the web service. So everything that we saw here in this data format is now selectable for, let's say, in a human readable format. Yeah? So let's say we want to have the name of the country for sure. And we also want to have the region, for example. Then you can already click preview here. And you get the list from the web service with all the names of the countries and the regions. And of course, if you click next now, you would go into the normal wizard where you can just create a list app as if this was a normal Excel sheet. So that's really simple. Even if you're non-technical, it's easy to use. Okay, great. So actually this, I'll leave it right here because we're gonna enhance this example a bit in the next step with the next new feature that we have. But first, maybe are there any questions on that?
No.
All fine?
All good. Okay.
So we learned now that we can integrate REST services with OpenSApp in quite an easy way. Another feature that has been beta for quite a while and is now, like, let's say, fully implemented and ready for production is enhanced with Excel logic. So as you saw in the last example, we had REST data that produces a REST web service that produces list data and transfers it to the client. So you can build a nice little list app, which is already great because you can have detailed dialogues, you can edit stuff, and that all works already. But one thing that we realized is, wouldn't it be cool if you can combine your list data with Excel elements, let's say. So what happens is the list data still comes from your third-party provider and goes to the client, but on the way, you can now with OpenSApp add, for example, charts or calculations that are based on this list data and make your data more interactive and more interesting in that way. So let's see a small example. We have, for example, the country list from the previous new feature that I presented. And let's say, for example, we want to create a chart now that is based on this data and, for example, shows the distribution of the countries by region. And that is something that we can build with this feature, and we're going to do it together now in a live here. So let's get back. And what's important is the little button down here. So it says Enhance with Excel Logic, and we're just going to click that. And now we are guided through a three-step process. So first of all, we're going to download the spreadsheet with the current data. There is one thing that is very important to understand here. So your data will always be live, and it will always be connected to your web service. And whenever you do a refresh, when there are new entries, you will also have them in your app. So what we are doing now is just we are pretty much teaching the system how to analyze the data. But we are not cutting the connection to the original data source or anything like that. So you will always be up to date. So what we do now is we have the first sheets. Here is the name and the regions of all the countries. And we are just going to create a second sheet. And let's maybe rename that to analysis. And now we want to build some logic here. I prepared a small formula. So let's say we want to see how many countries do we have in Asia. So it's just a very simple formula. It goes into this table here and checks column B. And whenever it says Asia there, it just increases the count by 1. And then let's do the same thing for Europe maybe. So we copy the formula again and we just change it to Europe here. And then we insert a chart, for example. So we just go here, add a pie chart, and we say select data, and it should just be based on this. Okay, that's it already. So now we would have a nice list of countries with detailed dialogues, and on the other hand, some analysis where we can see charts about the distribution regarding the region. So let's go back to our wizards. So we completed step 1, we downloaded it. We completed step 2 because we added some logic, some charts, and some calculations. Now he wants us to upload the changed spreadsheet again. So we're just gonna do that. Should be this one, I guess. So let's drop it here. Yeah, and you already see the feedback. He has the second tab with the values. And now let's just continue from here. So we click next. And we are back to the app wizard experience that we are used to. So you see that he already recognized, for example, the chart with the distribution. And after clicking next, and for example, saying we want an app with lists and charts, the app is generated for us. So we have the list data. And actually, I used the wrong list here, but it doesn't matter for example now. But on the second tab, you also see the distribution chart. So let's see how this app can look like if you build it. So we have it here, the Enhance with Excel Logic. Again, a demo app that you will have access to later. After opening it, this is the data that came live from the web service now, up here. And on the second tab, we have the analysis that shows the country distribution. And yeah, I think it's just a great way to make your data more interesting, to find out more about lists that you import into our system. Any questions on that feature, or is everybody still thinking about it?
Yeah, I think they're overwhelmed by the feature and busy with writing down app ideas. So yeah, it's an awesome feature that you can basically evaluate your raw data without having to get a new tool. It's like you know your way around Excel, and you can use that right now to enhance your information from any system you're using. Move on.
Okay, great. Then let's get to the next one. We do a small jump, but actually it's also connected to what we already saw. So everybody here knows survey apps. So you create an app where you want to get a feedback or something, and people are submitting their reports, let's say. And based on this survey apps, you were always able to create result apps. But the problem was that these apps were really limited. So what we actually changed is, and what you can do now with these survey result apps that we introduced is, you can edit your survey results. So thinking about workflows, you could have people requesting something through a survey, and there could be somebody else who sees the list of requests and can then change and work on that data. Also, the feature that we saw before, this Enhance with Excel Logic, is now built into those apps. So those are really fully fledged apps now. So these result apps are no longer just like small limited apps, but they have all the functionality that other apps have as well. So I would also suggest let's see what it looks like. So I want to show you first how you create it from the portal side shortly before I show you the final result on the client. So how you create such a result is actually pretty simple. You just go here and say create. Again, you go to our other data sources. And now you have a new button here, which is Open as App. And if you click on that one, you can connect. And now it asks you for an app ID. So this is something that's also going to improve soon, that it's easier for you to pick an app here. But currently you have to paste the app ID here. You paste it, you say log in, and you are back to the screen that you already know from the last feature. And when you click plus here, you can select survey log, and then you see all the data. Let's select all fields. Click on preview. And then you can already see that this is the submitted data from the other data source. And if you click next now, you're again inside the wizard, and you have all the data that comes from the survey available for your evaluation app. And again, as before, it's always up to date. So when there is a new survey result coming in, it will be reflected in your results app. So let's have a look at apps quickly. I think it's easier to understand in that case if we do it like that. So we have a survey app here. We just can give a small rating to a certain service, for example. And we can just send the answer. And then jump over to our results app. And in the results app, so let's maybe do a quick check here. You can now see there's one more entry now with the rating that I just gave in. And as I enhanced it with Excel logic, as we saw before, I have also a nice analysis now, which shows the average values for the different values. And it also gives you a nice chart with an overview. So again, great to build workflows with Open as App. And I think just the improvement for server apps is really important to achieve that. Okay. Any questions, or should I just continue from here? Okay, so we talked about survey apps right now, and we're going to stay with the topic pretty much. So the next feature is something that was requested a couple of times in the past, and we decided to integrate it with Open as App, also to improve workflows and working with survey apps. So what you can do now is you can add signature pads to your application. So let's say you have use cases where people need to confirm that they read something, or you want to sign an offer or something like that. There is now an element in Open as App that helps you to do that. It works, the signature appears in the change protocol, just as we have it already with images today. And you could also use webhooks. That's something that we presented in the last expert update, and is available in the advanced section in the portal to process that signature. So for example, you could attach your own web service and forward the signature and link it in your CRM system, for example. So there are a lot of ways for you to extend that functionality on your side. So let's have a quick look at an app. What does it look like? So we have here it is, the signature pad demo app. If you go inside, you have to click sign document here, and then you can pretty much sign the document or do whatever you want with it. And after clicking sign, you see the feedback of what you just inputted, and you can upload it to the server. And let's now jump over to the server side and have a look at the signature pad app here. You see now in the change protocol, exactly, there should be a new entry here. Yeah, the one on the top is the newest one. And this is now the URL pretty much to your signature. And when you click it and open it up, you see the signature that you just inputted into Open as App. Again, you could now build an app based on this data and, for example, use that signature inside there for like a reporting of something that was signed. Or, as mentioned, you can integrate your own web service and use the signature to enhance your existing systems, for example.
But just another idea, you could basically use that for some drawings and sketches. So that, basically it's not only about signatures, etc. You can draw everything else, like a smiley, for example.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not limited to that. It's a first use case, but we are also very curious. Like if you have, as Damian just said, anything like with sketches or drawings that, I don't know, that you do at an on-site visit, for example, in the field as a field worker, let us know. That's really interesting to us also how we can further improve the feature for different use cases.
Great, so give us more of those great stuff, Tobias.
Yeah, actually we stay with service now. So you see we did a lot to improve those. And the next one is about tracking location in surveys. So just imagine a use case where you have a field worker that, for example, has to create damage reports while he's on the road. It might be really interesting for you to see there where was this damage actually reported. And that's why we integrated GPS location tracking into survey apps. We know that there are a lot of different requirements. So some people just don't want that. So of course, you can also disable that. And then you have different options, how strict you want to be regarding the GPS location. Sometimes it might be nice to have, then you can just set it to preferred. In other times, it might be really mandatory that you have the GPS location. In that case, we have the lower two flags where you can enforce that. Short word about this one. Sometimes GPS is not available, and in this case, you might want to let the user through. So you have all the options here to meet your use case. So let's jump over to the apps again and see how that actually works and how it feels for the client and how it looks like on the server side later. So let's say we have a survey app. And since I used it before, OpenSAP already asked me if I want to share the location. And I answered with yes there. So let's just send the answer. So pretty much there is nothing for the user here. But if we jump over now to our applications and we go into the sample app, and again, we jump to the change protocol, you will see that there are two new columns here, which is location latitude and longitude. And if I take that and let's Google for that and jump to maps, you will see that I am currently located in San Francisco, which is not completely true, but I'm using the iPhone simulator and the default location of that is always San Francisco. So that's why we have that here. And just imagine, again, now you could create an app based on that with the location data. Again, show it on the map like an overview of damage reports where I don't know, certain things happen. So that's all possible now. Good.
Off to the next one.
Yep. So we had a lot of big features now, and I think the combination of enhancing with Excel logic and improved workflows, enables you to come up with a lot of new ideas, and we are really curious about your ideas, so let us know. So let's now talk about a few more features that are new. So for example, last time we mentioned that the user management will be reworked a bit, and at that time it was in beta, but now it's actually live. So what you had in the past was you had a members area and you had a guest area here. And we unified that to one screen now, which is the user screen. So one landing point if you want to change anything about your users. And you have both roles combined in one screen. You have guests, you have members. Yes, of course, you can edit them just as before. And if you add new users, you're also guided, dependent if it is a team member or a guest, you might have to select the app you want to invite him to. And all the things like bulk invite and so on work just as they did before. It was all just unified in one screen, simplified, searches there, everything a bit simpler than before and a bit more consistent. Another small thing, or actually it's not so small, is SAML support. So as you know, we already had support for OAuth and OpenID identity management providers. And we extended this for SAML integration now. So that's actually a protocol that is pretty old, but a lot of enterprises are using it. So it will be very handy if you want to integrate Active Directory in like big enterprises. And that works completely with OpenSAP now. Okay, another one, very small one, but we had a lot of tickets. That's why we mentioned it here. So value alignments for outputs were always a bit inconsistent, let's say. That's also fixed. We had a lot of requests regarding that. That's why we want to mention it here. Should feel easier and more straightforward now. Then we have also something great, which is custom PDF names. So let me show you an example of what this is about. Let's jump back here to the overview. So we have the PDF example app down here. So what happened in the past was when you created a PDF file, it always was named, I think, data PDF or something like that. So the name had no meaning. And we introduced a couple of options now that it's more meaningful for you. So first of all, the default file name will always be the app name now, because we think that's already much better than data.pdf. And at least you know what the PDF is about if you send it around, for example, here using email now. Second, you can also, just as an app creator, define a static file name. So you could say, I don't know, whenever offer is created from here, it should be called offer licenses or something like that. So that's a static name that will always be the same when you create it. And the last option, and that's a really cool one, I think. So let's say you're creating an offer and you are here inserting the name of your customer. When you do file name from cell, then the offer will directly be named with the customer's name. And you can, for example, combine it with offer underscore company name or something. And now if you send it out, the PDF name has a lot of context already. The customer that receives it will immediately know what it is about. And yeah, I think it's just very consistent and a nice little improvement. So that app is also on the slides that you will receive afterwards. So feel free to look into the configuration and to try it out. And of course, to give us feedback as always. Good. Then we have one more thing. We had a scheduler last time. So we showed it that it already works on the client side. And now we also have support for this on the portal side and in the web client. So if I jump over to the browser, let's just shortly go to the initial screen. Let's create an app here. And I prepared a small demo here. So we have a Excel file. So the special thing about the Excel file is it has two columns, a column with a start and a column with an end date. And that's pretty much all you need to get started with the scheduler. After that, you can select it from here. And you see immediately that he recognized, okay, this is calendar data. I can provide a calendar view here. And when we step through the process, you will see that you can now also, let me go back, sorry. So if we edit it here, you can also, for example, change the start view here. So you can say, I don't know, this should always start in the day view. And then you already see the first entry here in the application. And on the client side, I showed it already last time, but let's shortly have a look at it. Again, you have the scheduler with all the data. You have a nice month view. You can select elements. You have the detail dialogues that you can edit. You can also add new stuff. Search works. So it's pretty much the same experience that you have with lists, but with a more suitable visual representation of date-based events, let's say. Also here, of course, you can switch to the date or to week views.
Yeah, that's a great feature for some kind of bookings, deadlines, or availabilities, or for example, if your coworkers or colleagues are on vacation, you always know who's available and not. So yeah, I think you're already having lots of ideas for that. So yeah, have fun using the scheduler.
Yeah, okay. So that was the overview of new stuff. That's not everything that happened, but a lot of other things you will find in the portal when you use OpenS app. I think that was a nice collection of some great new things. And the next expert update will probably be in April 2019. And another question is, are there any open points in the chat?
So there are still a few private questions we received, but they are basically very special. So we will answer them definitely afterwards in a direct conversation. But actually, it was very nice to see some familiar faces from the last expert update. So I'm pretty sure you will be there as well in April.
Okay, great. And as always, send us your feedback on the format as well. Is it too technical? Is it too quick? Or is it all fine? Let us know. We are happy to adapt that. And other than that, see you in April.
Have a nice weekend.
Bye. Thanks. Bye-bye.